So, anybody know when the World Series starts? No? Anyone? Good morning to you. Good Thursday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Pirates. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or hockey, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Penguins in the same place that you found this. Dodgers 7, Yankees 6, and Los Angeles won the World Series last night in the Bronx. And man, you can tell how much I care about that, huh? I honestly don't think I've watched an inning of playoff baseball in years. I don't even know what channel it's on. And from someone who follows baseball at the Pittsburgh level as intensely as I do, you would think that I might have even some peripheral interest. I just don't. It's not a, like a protest or a boycott or anything silly like that on my part, because, what statement would I be making? I'm just not interested. And I can honestly tell you that I wouldn't be interested in the two sets of playoffs that I do watch, which are the NFL and the NHLs, if their systems were set up the same way. And you had, year after year, I don't know, Jets versus Giants in the NFL, and I guess Rangers and Kings for the Stanley Cup. But that's what baseball's become. In fact, that's what baseball's hoped to become. If you read or even just scan the headlines of the broader baseball coverage related to this World Series, you'll see all kinds of stuff glowing about how this is the dream matchup. This is what everyone wanted to see. I saw someone who writes for the Wall Street Journal tweet out last week that this was what the whole country was waiting for. Wow. No, dude, you live and work in New York, so it seems like that to you because you're surrounded by 13 million or so like-minded people. Subtracting, of course, the percentage of those who are Mets fans, and I'll bet even they're at least interested. But when you're talking about places where hope has been stripped away by not having a salary cap, by not having all the way equitable revenue sharing, by not having all those things that allow the Green Bay Packers to succeed in the NFL, that allow the Winnipeg Jets to succeed in the NHL. This is what happens. You strip away the one thing that a fan needs to be a fan, and that's hope. Hope is the fuel for the fan, whether that's a common fan or a diehard fan. Hope is what drives you. Hope is what gets you to tune into the next game after a tough loss. And in Pittsburgh, there's none. And amid all of the conversation that's occurred, whether it's here on the program or way more importantly, in the real world among the people who are really, really, really upset with Bob Nutting for bringing this failed management team back, I feel like today is a really good day to bring up that both things can be true, meaning that baseball is screwed up and that Nutting is not the right owner for the Pirates. When I've brought up the bigger stuff, I'll usually get a lot of blowback. I'll probably get it to this too, because, you're letting Nutting off the hook. You're talking about, I don't care. The point isn't to try to invent stuff to support a narrative. It's to lay everything out and see where you stand. And the one thing that I would imagine would or should scare people in Pittsburgh more than anything else as it relates to the ownership of the Pirates is that no matter who owns this team, no matter how independently wealthy they might be, the other thing will still be problem number one. I'm going to put this another way. Steve Cohen, the owner of the Mets, is the only owner that I know of, maybe there's somebody in basketball or something, who spends from his own personal wealth into payroll. Now, Steve's got that money lying around. Good for him. I can promise you he won't continue that indefinitely, especially not with how the Mets have performed and or gotten unlucky with injuries over the past couple of years. And when he stops pulling dollar bills out of his own wallet, then you will see 100% once again when it comes to owners who do not spend from their own money. Anybody who talks about things like that, and that's usually on talk shows and whatever else, is talking, quite frankly, out of their rear end. It does not happen. The whole Mark Cuban's going to come and save the Pirates because he's a billionaire should only be based on whether or not he was a good franchise owner for the Mavericks, because I can assure you Cuban has never spent a penny of Cuban's own money to finance the operation of the Mavericks. And he wouldn't do so here either, which, in parentheses, is yet another reason to laugh off the ridiculous notion that began with a misinterpreted paragraph in a piece in the New York Times a few years ago that Nutting himself is a billionaire. He's not. If anything, he's undercapitalized. If he sold the Pirates, he'd be a billionaire in about 0.5 seconds, but he's not. And even if he were, he wouldn't spend it on the team out of his own pocket because nobody does. End parentheses. And you know what? In the interim, for however long it takes, hopefully not longer than the next labor agreement, I'm hoping to see nothing but Dodgers versus Yankees, Dodgers versus Mets. Just give me Los Angeles and New York again and again and again. That is, for me, the dream scenario. Just go right ahead every October and shove it in every baseball fan's face that the only way your team can win a championship in the modern environment is to have a $300 million payroll. And the only way to have the $300 million payroll is to have your team based in one of the nation's two biggest markets. Keep doing that. It's great. See where it goes. See where your ratings go. Meaning your ratings outside those two markets. Not to mention a lot of other facets of the overall business. When we come back, J1Q.
It's Gun Storage Check Week. Help prevent unwanted access to your firearms. No one wants their unsecured gun to be used in an accident, a suicide, or a crime. Use lockboxes, safes, and locks to secure your firearms. Learn more at gunstoragecheck.org. That's gunstoragecheck.org. Brought to you by NSSF, the Firearm Industry Trade Association.
Today's J1Q comes from Biagio, who, in reference to yesterday's program that invested even more laughter at the Brian Dela Cruz trade, Biagio asks, could Dela Cruz be Ben Cherington's Chris Archer fiasco? I believe this is what Bob Nutting used to jettison the last group. Also, for the life of me, why was Clint Hurdle fired? He had a pulse, whereas Derek Shelton just has facial hair. I have no idea what you're asking with the last one. I'll take the first one out of those. I will say that there is no chance that Dela Cruz will be anybody's Archer fiasco. The Archer fiasco was what was sent out. And this doesn't apply really at all to Dela Cruz. The Pirates gave up their numbers 18 and 19 prospects to the Marlins in this exchange, neither of whom is expected to amount to much. They might, they wouldn't be the first ever in that range on a prospect list to make it, but I wouldn't be expecting that, as opposed to Tyler Glasnow, Austin Meadows, and Shane Baz. Each of the three of them have had different setbacks along the way, but no. That trade never should have been considered for even a split second. It was just horrible. Now, The other point to bring up here, and I think this is important because I got some feedback to the show yesterday about the trade itself, meaning what Miami got and what Pittsburgh got. And I'm going to restate my view anyway. My view's not definitive or anything, but I just want to make my own view clear on this. When I panned the Dela Cruz trade, it has nothing to do with what they sent back. To repeat from yesterday, I'm not into grading trades. I'm into what was the trade's purpose and what did it achieve. The trade's purpose, and I don't have to guess at this since Charrington spoke it that day, was to help the 2024 team. His words, not mine. Help the 2024 team. What Dela Cruz's acquisition did was to help sink the 2024 team, to help the 2024 team go all the way to the bottom of the ocean within 2 weeks because he was terrible and they went 10 in a row without winning. It's not about trade grades or that kind of stuff because it can't be. You sent prospects out. I mean, you sent really low-level, very, very young prospects out. There's no way to grade that except to look at what it was supposed to do. My guess is that if you went back over the 143-year history of this franchise, at least the part that would apply, meaning when there was a trade deadline instituted and all that other stuff, that you will never find a more powerful example of making a deal at the deadline that's aimed at making the team stronger right away that has the polar opposite effect. That's what makes that trade so abysmal. Now, I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Pirates. Going to do another one of these tomorrow.